The thing that makes modern Porsche sports cars so dang easy to love is that they come into their element no matter where or how you drive them. The same precision that makes a Porsche 718 or 911 brilliant on a rollicking two-lane creates a sense of control during a stressful commute. Want to use a sports car for a 2,000-mile road trip? For a relaxed Sunday cruise? To peacock down Rodeo Drive? Porsche abides. The 2023 Porsche 911 GT3 RS is the exception to the rule. Drive it slowly or on a highway or in a city or with a non-car crazed passenger riding shotgun, and it's kind of miserable. An order of magnitude stiffer than even the 911 GT3, the RS needs the right environment to reveal its superpowers. If there's a Michigan road that's both twisty enough and smooth enough to fully experience the 2023 Porsche 911 GT3 RS, this lifelong resident isn't aware of it, but that didn't make me any less enamored with the car. In a world where automakers can't stop blathering on about no-compromise vehicles, the newest GT3 RS is gloriously, unapologetically committed to doing a single thing: cracking off incomprehensibly fast lap times, at the expense of all others. Can you handle this? To call the 2023 Porsche 911 GT3 RS a race car for the road is to understate what Porsche has created. This is a race car for the racetrack, as proven by the scary fast lap it ran around the scary fast 4.0-mile Road America circuit, just 3.67 seconds off the pace of a 911 GT3 Cup race car tested on the same day. On Motor Trend's Michigan test track, the 911 GT3 RS posted another brain-scrambling performance by laying down a 21.9-second lap of our Figure 8 course. That puts it in a five-way tie for third place in our production car record book alongside the McLaren Senna, the Mercedes-AMG GT Black Series, the Chevrolet Corvette Z06, and Porsche's own 911 GT2 RS. Every one of those cars makes at least 150 horsepower more than the GT3 RS. And keep in mind, the RS, extreme downforce producing, grip-enhancing aerodynamics aren't even much in play at the speeds our Figure 8 allows for. Even so, the GT3 RS compensates for its mere 518 horsepower and 343 pound-feet of torque by allowing the driver to brake later and harder before swinging around corners like a tetherball sucker punched by Conor McGregor. Its 236-foot stop from 100 miles per hour is the shortest we've ever recorded, thanks in part to a rear wing that stands on edge under braking. A set of Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2R tires suction the car to the skid pad with 1.18 Gs, average, of lateral grip, 0.01 grams from claiming the top spot in our testing database. If you bomb into a bend expecting the 911 GT3 RS to be as stable and forgiving as a 911 Carrera S, you'll exit the turn sideways, backward, or not at all. That's because the RS is far more neutral at the limit than today's road-oriented 911s. Carrying too much braking into the corner will unhook the rear end, and entering with too much speed will cause the front end to push wide. The RS rear tires are the same 13.0 inches wide as the 911 Cup race cars, but the fronts are 2.0 inches narrower, so it's easier to provoke understeer than oversteer. These are not complaints. They're simple descriptions of how a driver's car should handle, in direct response to the driver's actions. Since you can't shock the rear tires loose with a wallop of torque, there's no correcting a nose-first skid with a whack of the throttle in the GT3 RS. Getting a corner right requires getting the setup and entry right. Where a 911 GTS can make any schlub feel like a hero, you'll have to earn your gratification in the GT3 RS. Drive it hard enough, and you can learn so much about chassis dynamics from this car. What's fascinating about the 911 GT3 RS is how it can be so neutral with such extreme limits yet still feel approachable and unintimidating. Give credit to the perfectly calibrated controls for that. The steering seemingly runs on the same 70 mV as your nervous system, bypassing conscious thought as it turns feedback from the front wheels into subtle rolls and flicks of your wrists. The brake pedal, too, offers textbook perfect feel and travel that makes it easy to feather your foot against the ABS threshold. This Porsche is not like the others. On public roads, the front tires follow the pavement's contours, yanking the car and the steering wheel around constantly. The ride is as stiff as you expect based on how the tires fill the wheel wells. As most Porsches do, though, this one also tamps the initial shock out of the hardest impacts. That alone makes it far more civilized than the BMW M4 CSL, which tries to replicate that 911 GT3 RS formula for almost exactly $100,000 less than the Porsche. 4 dials on the steering wheel allow the driver to fine-tune the dampers, brake-based torque vectoring, and traction and stability control. The fact you can independently adjust the compression and rebound at the front and rear, 9 settings each, means there are 6,561 possible permutations for the dampers alone. The value of all this adjustability was lost on our test track's smooth, flat vehicle dynamics pad, and fiddling with the settings on public roads left us with the impression that even Walter Röhrl wouldn't notice the difference one click of the dial makes. We consider that both a blessing and a curse. While it means you can't screw up this masterpiece, it also makes the whole conceit feel uncharacteristically theatrical for a Porsche. Up until now, the company has charted its own simpler path as BMW's M division and Mercedes-AMG overloaded drivers with driving dynamics fidget spinners. The chassis whisperers at Porsche's Weissach R&D Center don't need us to help them with their jobs. How quick is the Porsche 911 GT3 rupees? Equipped with the $33,520 Weissach lightweighting package, the $302,020 racing yellow GT3 RS tested for this story weighed just 3,220 pounds, or less than your average compact econobox. That's a phenomenal feat considering how wide the tires, the wing, and the body are. While the interior door handles have been replaced with fabric pulls, it's not entirely a stripped-out minimalist, either. That weight includes air conditioning, rear wheel steering, and an optional front axle lifter. On the other hand, the car's door skins are made of carbon fiber. The relatively feathery mass helps the 2023 Porsche 911 GT3 rupees keep twin-turbo V8 exotics within sight in a drag race despite its relatively modest power output. Launch control cuts the anchor loose from 6,500 revolutions per minute and takes its sweet time letting the clutch out to keep the 4.0-liter naturally aspirated flat 6 from bogging. It's a brutally effective, mechanically merciless launch, yet the car is unfazed no matter how many times you repeat the process. Over and over again, the 911 GT3 RS ripped to 60 miles per hour in 2.8 seconds and shot through the quarter mile in 10.9 seconds at 126.8 miles per hour. With 6 individual throttle bodies sucking in atmosphere, the engine yowls as it spins toward 9,000 revolutions per minute. The 7-speed PDK dual-clutch transmission snaps off hyperquick upshifts without resorting to violence, and while the RS can feel darty on rough roads, it feels absolutely planted at 150 miles per hour on smooth ones, even with the active aero elements in their low drag, low downforce positions to help acceleration. Balance of performance. Any other automaker building a car with so much grip, such composed body control, and such communicative steering would never be able to exercise the restraint Porsche does with the GT3 rupees. McLaren, Lamborghini, and Ferrari would all stuff their versions of a GT3 RS with boost in horsepower. Yet Porsche's naturally aspirated, high-revving Boxer 6 is arguably the better match for this chassis. You need to push both elements to their limits to fully understand their capabilities and what this car is all about. With the engine and chassis in balance, the driver can't exercise one part of the 911 GT3 rupees without also working the other. Ultimately, the way the entire package comes together is what makes the 2023 Porsche 911 GT3 rupees so spectacular and so spectacularly rare. Yes, no one else would build a car like this, and even if they wanted to, we're not sure they could.